All right, we are recording. So here we are. We're at our third Earth Nation Ambassadors meeting. We're going to get started with a little bit of breath work. So let's sit up straight in our chair. Really feel our S curve in our spine. So center forward, chest back. Take a deep breath. Do that 2 more times. One more time. We're going to get started with the breath commonly known as the breath of fire. I have a very specific way I prefer to do this. You can do this at your own preference. But I like to do this little bit of a gyrating motion with my hands up and down. And it helps move my hips forward and back, which helps the breath flow through my body. So we're going to do breath of fire for about 3 minutes. And then at the end, very deep inhale, hands up. These 2 fingers together and hold. And then we're going to sit, and really tighten our body, like really pull our body together. And if this happens correctly, you'll feel the vertebrae in your spine actually pop into alignment. And then after that, we're going to release and relax. All right? Ready? Let's do it. A little faster, a little stronger. A little faster, a little stronger. A little faster, a little stronger. All the way out. Deep breath in, hands up. Hold. Tighten, sit. Relax. Slow breaths. Feel all that. All right, next breath. This breath is done 100% inhale into the heart, down to about a 50 to a 30% exhale. And while doing this, I also like to move my hands up and out, up, out. And sometimes I like to change the rotation. And while I'm doing this, I really feel the energy moving through my body and out of my body. And in a sense, what I feel like I'm experiencing is I'm moving the energy out and in, like space through my chakras. So if you don't feel that right away, that's okay. for me, it's a very visceral feeling through this breath work. So we're gonna do this for another couple minutes, and then same deal. Hold, tighten, release. Ready? Deep breath out. A little faster. Slow deep breaths. Oftentimes, after completing breathing exercises, my body wants to move. The energy wants to come out. And I often do these weird movements. I don't really think about what I'm doing. My body just does it, and I let it do that. So, recommendation. Try a couple of those. Deep breath. Really feel our body relax. Now let's do a little bit of chakra clearing. We're going to do that with 4 tones. We're going to start with an om in our root. We're going to move into an ah in our heart. We're then going to do an e in our third eye and crown. And then we're going to do a full spectrum om. So breathing all the way out, all the way in. An important note on this, it doesn't matter how you sound, give it everything you've got. Be as loud as you can if your environment allows for it. All breathing all the way out, breathing into ah. And now we're going to have about 1 minute of silence. Eyes closed. Focus on the breath. Deep breaths. Try not to think. Begin. All right. Thank you, Marina, for holding the video. Will you turn off the audio of the mic and reduce the sound? All right. Well, I hope the video and the audio came through loud and clear for that for you guys. How was the transmission quality there? Does that
Good.
work?
Thank you so much.
Ah, you're so welcome, Nick. Yeah. Oh man. I love doing embodiment exercises so much. I look forward to the day where we can all meet again in person and practice. For those of us that attended our Earth Nation Mastermind K-Pasana, you know, it was a really amazing experience to sit together for 10 days in embodiment. So magical. Okay, well, let's get started with our course curriculum today. Before we get into the material, I would love to just spin around from each person, and I'd love to hear your name and how that embodiment practice felt for you. So my name is Dakota, and for me, that embodiment practice makes me feel so good. I feel so much awareness and energy enter into my body, and my body absolutely loves it. Snow, do you want to go next? Uh, you know, you guys, I think we're having a little bit of a bandwidth issue. If you guys wouldn't mind turning off your video, unless you're speaking. And then when you're speaking, if you could turn your video on when you unmute. Can we do that?
Okay, good sound. I hear you guys.
I can still hear you.
Oh, okay, great. So I finished, yeah.
Great, I hear you.
Yes, thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Nika, do you want to go next?
Yes, I'll go next. The practice was beautiful. Thank you, Dakota. And it's just lovely being in this space with all of you guys. And it felt so beautiful and just very grounding as well for me, but also just very heart connective with all of you. And I just felt like we were all in this like beautiful, like, I guess just golden light sphere together. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh. Dr. Nick, would you like to go next?
Yeah, definitely. Really enjoyed that embodiment practice. I've had a lot of external energy over the past 24 hours. I just drove down from Ashland last night, and so it's really invited me to be in my physical body and to tap into that inner energy and to run it through my physical system. And I empowers us to be connected all across the world.
Yes, Keegan. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really wonderful. It makes me feel very expanded and connected, and vibrations are going through me. So it's very nice, and feeling the light and warmth, and so good. Thanks, everyone. I love it. Thank you, Dakota.
Thank you, Keegan. Isaiah, would you like to go next? I noticed you seem to be with a pack of school kids over there.
Yeah. The embodiment practice helped me. Say hello. The embodiment practice has helped me become super grounded, super present with my emotions, and has helped me just become aware of my, so like whether it be fear or insecurities, I can just sit with them and fill into them and understand that that might be just something that I picked up based off my environment, or maybe an experience that has come, and it's really been helpful. Say goodbye. Bye.
Thanks, Isaiah. Marina, would you like to go next? And then you come here and talk into this one so we don't have an audio feedback. How was that for you, Marina?
First of all, thank you so much for giving us this practice. Always when I do breath work, it brings me to the present, and I don't have thoughts which is just distract me from being present. And after feels very calm and like harmonized. My inside of my brain, body, and heart feel more love in my heart. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Looks like the videos have frozen a little bit. I hope I'm still coming through loud and clear. Hopefully my upload's a little faster than the download. Jay, would you like to share?
Cannot hear.
Okay, I think we lost the internet for a second. You there, Dad? It might help with our bandwidth right now if people turn off their video if they are not speaking. You guys wouldn't mind doing that? Yeah, okay. All right, I'm still not hearing anything from Jay, so let's move on. Oh wait, I see Jay now. Hey, Dad, try talking. Can we hear you? We see you, but your mic just isn't working, Dad. Good to see you. Love you. You have to work that mic thing out. Okay, great. So, and then Elisar, are you there? You want to give us a share? I noticed, Elisar, your bandwidth seems pretty low too, but are you there?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Alistar, how was that?
Yeah, similar. Similar to what other folks are saying. I felt some groundedness and aliveness in my body. There's a couple of more difficult kind of emotions that I've been sitting with already today, but even that, like bringing life
You're a little
into
bit
those
quiet,
emotions
Alistar. If
felt
you could talk a little bit
good in a
louder, that'd be
way.
great.
Okay, well,
That's
should I start
perfect.
over?
If you want, yeah.
Okay. Well, I was just saying, yes, I felt more embodied even with some of the things that I don't necessarily want to be feeling right now, but it was like breathing aliveness into that. And that has a way in which it feels good.
Yes, thanks for sharing, Alistar. Okay, so now let's get into some of our course curriculum. I hope that everyone did their homework. Right now, we are up to, let's take a look here. I think we have 5 lessons that we are covering today. So I'm gonna call on each person here to do a synopsis of the different lessons that we've covered and see how well we can pull that from our memory. Give me a second, I'm pulling that up on my computer. I'm curious, did anyone here not do their homework? I'll be surprised.
Which homework? To read everything or?
The homework is up into up until the 2nd lesson chapter. So I released a new chapter yesterday, and that material isn't going to be covered in this meeting, but all the way up to the latest chapter.
I didn't read all of them.
That's all right. We're going to cover it anyway. Okay, so I think our first one is the communication tips number 1. Yeah, let's go through that. Okay. Snow, since you're just sharing, would you like to give us a synopsis of communication tips number 1, yes and? So just kind of give us a summary of what you understood from that chapter.
Okay, yes. So when we talk with someone, even if we think that we disagree with this person, we don't have to say no, I don't think so, or but we just say yes, like we bring these people understand that, okay, I see you, I hear you, what I'm talking about, and we also add and show our position and give some facts and give people opportunity to see this from other perspective. So we don't create this gap or wall between us. We give people know that we understand and we have our own opinion, and person can agree or disagree. So yeah.
Boom, well put, Snow. Yes. Yeah, so as New Paradigm ambassadors, removing direct confrontational responses from our vocabulary goes a really long way towards creating the kind of connection where people really feel like we're on the same page and on the same side with them. So instead of rejecting other people's realities, even if we don't agree with it, we can say yes and substitute that for no but, and then share exactly what we were going to just share, even a perspective that's totally controversial. But if we say yes and, then it actually just rewires the brain to be more receptive to what we're sharing. It's a very magical, super powerful NLP technique right there. Great. There's one other part of that chapter. There's 2 tips in there. Snow, do you remember the first tip?
Can you say again, please?
In the communication tips #1 chapter, there's actually 2 different tips. You just shared the second tip. Do you remember the first tip? Not quite? That's okay. Does anyone remember the first tip from communication tips #1? And if so, if you want to just turn your video on and go ahead and share with us what that first tip is. Yeah, Nika.
Don't use the word try. You're either doing it or you're not.
That's right. You want to elaborate on that for us?
Because when you use the word try, there's a you give the opportunity for a potential failure, whereas if you're in the process of doing it or you remove the word try from your vocabulary, then you are going to accomplish it. There is no failure.
Oh, well put, Nika. Very succinct. Excellent. Does anyone have any questions on those 2 tips? Nick.
Just a comment. Yeah, I've actually been playing around with taking try out of my vocabulary over the past 2 months, and it's been interesting to observe when people are utilizing the word try. I've noticed oftentimes it's when people are saying yes to something that they're not in full alignment with, and they say, oh, I'll try to do this, and I observe that they put energy into doing something they don't want to do. And it's been really empowering to intend on removing try from my vocabulary, and just wanted to share that reflection.
Thank you, Nick. I also just observed how eloquently you use the term observe, and we're actually going to get into that in a moment as well. Yeah, that's great. A masterful communicator, Nick.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have anything they would like to add, discuss, or otherwise ask about those first 2 tips we covered?
Yes, I can add something about these words. Maybe you can also share your perspective. I try to get rid of these words like should, need, have to also from my vocabulary. And also when I want to like have some kind of intention for my life, I don't use like I want to be abundant or I want something else, because actually I will have more opportunities to want, not to have this, but just want. So I say exactly, I'm abundant, or I do something to bring this message to the universe that I don't want to have this wanting energy, but I want to have this experience.
Wow, Snow, you just described 2 of our upcoming chapters. Absolutely, yes. We're gonna go deep on removing what we call pressure statements, which are like need and should, and also on how to reframe our existence to the affirmative of I am, rather than I need or even I want. But there are also still times to want things. Desires are a good thing. But yes, we're gonna go. Actually, that's chapter #3 on the communication tips. So thank you so much for sharing that, Snow. One other thing, when you guys are sharing with your voice, if you could also turn your video on, I would really appreciate that. So good to see your beautiful smiling faces. I would have my video on, but I don't have a camera, unfortunately. I'll be changing that soon. Okay, so I think we are complete on the communication tips #1. Now let's go into perspective shifts #1, right and wrong. Who would like to handle the synopsis of this chapter? Any volunteers? All right. Elisar, yeah.
Hey. Sure. So right and wrong is
just a little bit louder, please.
Trying. So right and wrong is black and white thinking, and it's well, it's reductionistic, and kind of makes one vulnerable to well, you mentioned enslavement in the lesson, and I guess I would agree with that. Yeah, how about that?
Thank you, Elisar. Yeah, maybe I'll riff on that a little more. Right and wrong just like really builds duality thinking into us and them. It creates this idea of like potential enemies and dissonance and discord. It also really opens up the door for judgment, because when someone's in the wrong, now we're welcome to judge them, to think less of them, to put them underneath us who's in the right. Right and wrong actually really inherently builds pyramid social systems where the people who are right are on top and the people who are wrong are on the bottom. Now, does anyone remember the part of the chapter where we offer a replacement strategy for right and wrong? Does anyone remember that? Want to share that? How do we replace that kind of thinking? What do we replace it with? Anybody?
What I recall was being in alignment with, or this resonates with me, and this isn't what I resonate with, or it's not in alignment with me.
Blam. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, just riff on that a little more. There's all kinds of actions in this world that we can take, and a lot of those actions aren't in alignment with different individuals. And something that may not be in alignment with me might be fully in alignment with someone else. And it's really up to that person to discern what's in alignment with them or not. That's not really up to me to try to discern that for them. And really having this perspective really opens us up to allow other people to be who they are and to understand that we're all on different parts of our growth cycles. We're all on a different path up the mountain that is life and growth. And for some people, like something that might just seem so crazy to me might be exactly what they need to grow to their next phase of life. And this really covers all actions, even stuff that seems really crazy or unaligned. I believe that literally all experiences, all suffering, ultimately leads to catalyze our growth. Yeah. Cool. Do we have any questions or any dialogue we want to open up regarding this philosophy? Anything anyone wants to add, or are we feeling like a big, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, let's move on?
That's nuts. But okay.
What was that? All right, cool. Fabulous. Oh, you know what? There's actually one other point of this perspective shift that I wanted to riff on for a second. And that was knowing the truth. And really understanding that we are all gaining a further understanding of the truth. And that the truth is actually such a complex, multi-layered construct that nobody alive has the full truth. Nobody. There's just too much going on. The human mind can't handle it. So really understanding that and coming at the truth from a state of humbleness, where we are constantly adapting and evolving our understanding of the truth without getting locked in to what we think the truth is, and being unable to adapt and evolve that perspective. Yeah. Hey guys, am I still coming through loud and clear? Are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah, sounds good.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, all right, who wants to give a synopsis of Qi theory? Actually, Keegan, I want to hear this one from you, since you're our Qigong master over here. Go ahead, Keegan. Tell
The
me about
chi theory.
Yep, the chi theory lesson. Please
So
summarize.
in okay, so you can hear me now, right?
Loud and clear.
That's good. In China, chi is the life force energy. In India, it's called prana. I recently heard it's called orgone, although I didn't know that that was another word for this. But the universal life force energy that's all around us, that in the lesson it says we assimilate through our breath, which is primarily true. I think also all of our chakras are taking in chi. A chakra is a vortex that's accreting universal life force energy, chi. So when the chi is flowing into our body from the environment, it nourishes us, and when it flows to when there are blockages, then we lose our health. That's chi theory in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Keegan. Yeah, I just want to elaborate on that. So basically, chi exists everywhere in all things. And as we pull chi into our body and then release that chi out of our body, that chi becomes texturized by our emotional field. And through this process of pulling in, texturizing chi, and releasing it, we are impacting and affecting the emotions and feelings and chi of everyone around us, the space that we're in, anything we focus on, and everyone that we're close to. And working with chi and texturizing chi with a feeling of happiness and joy, contentment, excitement, peace, understanding, and love. This is actually our biggest work as New Paradigm Ambassadors, is providing this service for others to help them uplift their emotional state out of the grime and the muck of the traditional paradigm. Later on in our courses, we're going to go deep into different meditative, emotional, and manifestive processes, which are essentially the actual magic of the world. But for now, we're going to just really focus on chi cultivation and embodiment practice. And from a state of a very high level of cultivation, we're going to explore further techniques to enhance and build on our ability to feel, experience, and control chi in and outside of our bodies. Great. Do we have any questions or dialogue we want to open up about the chi theory lesson? All right, we're good to go. Okay. All right, we did a lesson on breath work, but that we already just covered at the start, so I'm going to skip through that. Okay, the art of discovery. This is a big one. Does anyone want to volunteer to take a snap at a synopsis of the art of discovery? Keegan?
Yeah, I can keep going since I was
Yeah,
speaking
roll
already.
on this one for me, will you?
It's a really amazing thing to discover about people that you are interacting with. So there's an art to starting conversations, as I think what this chapter is about, and how you discover things about people that are new to you that you're meeting, and how you start to relate with them, and discover how you might positively affect their life. in your role as a new paradigm ambassador. So questions that are great to start, like I said, in the chapter is like asking people where they're from, which is one that I like personally, I always use this since I'm really interested in different places and like seeing how people are because of the place that they come from or that they live in. And it's such a variety. So that's really fun one. Yeah, that's the first one. I'm not sure. Let's see if I remember what comes right after that, or if somebody else wants to say.
I don't mind riffing on the next couple. Yeah, so my favorite discovery question, like lineup, so to speak, is a 3-parter. And the first one is simple, where are you from? And that one is a really standard one that's used all across the world. So I like entering with it because people are comfortable with their response. It's just a really natural, fluid response. It doesn't kind of weird anyone out. Whereas if you just like come out of the gate and you're like, what's your purpose? A lot of people will be like, whoa, they don't know how to answer that. It'll trigger some kind of like fear or like insecurity response. So first I just like to ask them something normal. But then I like to ask them, what is it like there? Which also is a pretty normal question. But there's actually a deeper layer to how someone answers this question that reveals a lot about them and what they're focused on. So when someone answers this question, like what's it like there, they can talk about the weather, they can talk about the business environment, they can talk about the people there. Those are the 3 most common responses. And depending on which of those responses, it actually reveals to you a bit about that person's focus. So if someone talks about the weather, their environment is very important to them typically. They are like a bit of an extrovert in their presence and in how they like to relate to the world. If they talk about the business environment, they're probably pretty like professionally minded and spend like a lot of their focus on work. And if they talk about, all right, Nika. All right, thanks for joining us tonight. So good to have you with us. Give your blessings to your son for us. Yeah, and then if they talk about the people there, then they are people and spend a lot of their time focusing on relations. I like to follow that question up with one that most people never get, and I ask them why they live there. This will often, like, people will be kind of strange about it, but a lot of people will just segue into it. And this is where when you ask someone why they're living where they're living, you are essentially asking them also what their purpose is. And if they don't segue immediately into like an excited and passionate like statement about their purpose, then this reveals that they actually don't know their purpose, which is the case for most people. And especially if someone says that they live somewhere because they were born there, we can tell they're actually extremely disconnected from their purpose, and in a sense are probably pretty disconnected from the world. And that's actually the most common response, is I was born there. And usually people that stay where they were born also didn't travel very much. And yeah, so this just reveals a lot about the person. So as traditional paradigm like ambassadors or salespeople, they're so damn quick to jump the gun and to just like really kind of spew all over who's listening to them about different things they can buy. As new paradigm ambassadors, it is absolutely paramount and critical that we don't do that, right? So our role as these new paradigm ambassadors is really to make genuine, authentic connection. And so as part of this, and we'll get more into detail on this later with the different connectable groups and the different commissionable connections, it's really important that we really take our sweet time connecting with people. And for most people, we're not even going to bring up Earth Nation or any connectionable commissions for hours and hours and hours, and sometimes days after we've really started connecting with someone. Now, the exception to this is if someone starts initiating a passionate, inspired conversation about something that's really super relevant to one of our commissionable connections or the Earth Nation, but that's not something we want to bring up until we are like really in the middle of what we call the dating process. When I say the dating process, I mean that completely platonically. There's nothing romantic implied, and yet all the other contexts still apply. We're in a sense, we're courting the people that we're connecting with, again, in a platonic sense, but we're basically growing a family here, and we're really creating that time and that space, that curiosity and that support to facilitate a relationship that feels like a brotherhood, that feels like a sisterhood, and that is that to all intents and purposes. Great. Yeah. Does anyone want to riff on that? Talk about that? Any questions on that?
Yes, I would love to add something.
Yes, please.
Very
And will you please
slightly,
turn your
yeah.
video on while you're sharing?
Yes, I really love
Yeah.
this concept that we have, that we don't sell something to people.
A little
I
bit
really
louder,
feel-
please.
Oh, yeah, really? What about now?
Perfect.
Perfect. So I love this concept that we don't sell something to people, really help people, we assist people, and it's natural, life, full and from birth, and we connect with people because we want that. Really curious about their life and what they are doing here, what their passion. And after, if we will see that yes, these people need us, and we have some solution for them, of course we want to share this because it will help them and us too. So I really love this concept that we have in New Paradigm.
I have such a big smile on my face right now, Snow. I really felt that share in my heart. Thank you. All right. Does anyone want to riff on that, or any questions before we move on? All right. Moving on. I guess maybe one other thing I want to add is that because this process takes a really significant amount of time and energy, us as ambassadors really discerning who we want to keep giving our energy to becomes of utmost importance. And we're going to go really deep on that and how to decide who we give our energy and our life force to later in the course series. Okay, here we are with perspective shifts number 2, observations, assumptions, judgments, compassions, and understandings. Let's see, Isaiah, you there, buddy? Isaiah.
Yes, I'm here.
Did you do your homework? Did you read this section?
I didn't read this section. Only lesson 1 was uploaded when I checked, and I didn't get to the section yet.
All right. But I guess you can't
So
handle
I will get to this.
Okay.
I can't handle the heat. Yeah.
All right. I'll take you off the hook then.
I can help the definition, and he can bring his opportunity, like not opportunity, but opinion about this, like what is for him and how he thinks that he needs to use this.
So do you want to do a synopsis of this part?
Yes, I can just quickly, like what is this about?
Yeah.
Like,
you want to turn your video on?
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's all the time. Great. So observation. That's something neutral. Like we just see the facts, what's happening, just facts. And assumptions, we already have some kind of idea in our mind, and sometimes there's nothing real with this reality. Like we just have these ideas, and we put more and more and more, and we think more and more, and it's super complicated. And judgments, we bring some negative ideas about what happened, about person and situations. Like we judge people, we think that it's wrong. And compassion, again, we see facts, and we see that there's nothing wrong, and that's your own truth. And we bring some kind of empathy also. We understand person, and understanding, that's tested assumptions. Like we have kinds of concept ideas, and we see, okay, we're right. what's happening.
Well done, Snow. Thank you. Yeah, this next part is really important, so I'm just gonna read it out to us. So, never assume an assumption is the truth. Always test your assumptions against observations to determine and evolve your understanding. And understandings are assumptions that have been tested through continued observation. This is really, really, really important for us, you guys. As New Paradigm Ambassadors, this is like one of our fundamental pillars of how we operate in the world. And this is just, again, it's so critical we hold this. So judge nothing and no one. Be compassionate with even the vilest of criminals. Destructive, violent, and abusive behavioral patterns are born from trauma. Remember that anyone you are judging has suffered tremendously and is doing the best they can to cope with the trauma and abuse they have suffered. Now, understand also that being compassionate doesn't mean we let people treat us poorly. It's very different. But we can still be compassionate with people who are from a place of trauma. In the field and presence of unconditional love, all things are forgiven and all beings are given the opportunity to release their trauma and destructive behaviors. And you will find also that if you really hold a powerful state of unconditional love, that people who are otherwise like violent or mean or aggressive or et cetera, when they're around you, they will be nice. They'll be kinder. They'll be more caring. They'll be more respectful all the time, every time. And I actually know this a lot from my personal experience because I spent a lot of time living on the streets from my own choice. And I lived around people who were very violent, very mean to some people, but they were always, always, always kind to me because I treated them with love and respect. And really, when you really give that to someone, you always get it back as long as you're giving that from an empowered state and not from a victim state. We're going to get more into that later because this is a superpower, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm really excited to share more techniques and exercises on how to strengthen this superpower that is the field of unconditional love. Yeah. And this is a key point. If there's anything that you really have a hard time being compassionate with someone else for, you will find that there's some part of you that you're struggling to be compassionate with. Always, 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 always. This is a very clear sign that we are growing more compassion for ourselves when we are finding a lot of judgment for someone else. Yeah. So the thing that we're judging inside of ourselves might not be exactly what we're judging outside of ourselves. There can be some kind of inversion happening there, and we'll explore those concepts a little more in depth later on in the course. All right, any questions, or does anyone want to riff on perspective shifts number 2?
I'd like to say that's super interesting. I'm excited to talk about that, how I don't know, having difficulty accepting somebody else can be a reflection of internal things and how that operates in the world.
Yeah.
That'd be very interesting. I also want to say about just like in defense of people that might live where they were born, like some of them are on their purpose. Like I think that to say that anybody who lives where they're born would be maybe too much of an assumption.
Cool. Great. Thank you so much, Keegan, for defining and elaborating on that. Really appreciate that. Yeah. So what I meant to say was that when someone answers that question and answers like why they live there with the fact that they grew up there, that's the sign that they are not living in their purpose. Because if someone like grew up somewhere, but then you ask them why they're living there, they will typically actually give you a different answer. They won't necessarily tell you, oh, that's where I was born. They'll be like, oh, that's where my family is, and it's where my support is, it's where I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, or it's like, it's where my business is at, or it's like where my dance troupe is. they'll give you more than just, oh, I was born there. So not to say that, you know, people that live where they were born aren't in their purpose, but to say that if that's the only reason they give you when they answer that question, it's a pretty clear sign that they haven't really found their purpose yet. But also that's not always true, but it is very often true. Does that make sense to you, Keegan?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for elaborating on that.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Great. Anyone else like to add or question this latest course? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does make it to the end of this week's course materials. I think maybe I will just riff on for a second the next chapter of what we're working on here. So in our in the third chapter, we're finally starting to get into some of the nitty-gritty. And for those of you who feel like these earlier chapters were kind of like rudimentary or elementary or basic, I really appreciate your time just getting through it. I do realize that for most of us, these lessons are things we do already know. However, as a culture and a group of New Paradigm ambassadors, I believe it is of paramount importance that we have a baseline of understanding that all of us have. And another thing this training is doing is it's giving us the vocabulary and an understanding of that vocabulary. So we're able to really effectively communicate these ideas with each other and with others. So we're really building this baseline of understanding, and I really appreciate your time, even if you already know most or all of what we're sharing. Snow, is there something you wanted to add to that? Okay. It's great to see your beautiful face.
Yes, I just want to bring my beauty and presence.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Okay. So here in this next chapter, we're finally starting to get into some of what I call the nitty-gritty of our role as ambassadors. This is mostly heady information, and this stuff is going to be the most important for us to memorize completely and fully. Yeah, in this section is where we're really starting to dial into the facts that we are going to be fully memorizing and even being tested on. So I'm just going to read through this one. This is a summary of this upcoming chapter. Commissionable connections and connectable groups. Commissionable connections are projects that pay you when you bring someone to the project. These connections come in 5 categories: personal development, wealth, business, positive change, and ambassadors. We'll go more into depth on the many connections available into each category. There are currently about 30 different connections we're able to make as New Paradigm ambassadors. That might seem a little overwhelming at the start, but I'm using some excellent memnomic and storytelling memorization tools and techniques. And I think that you guys will find by the time we're done with this curriculum that it'll be very easy for you to memorize and reiterate the different connections that we have in our portfolio. So connectable groups are demographics of people that are actively seeking different projects. Connectable groups in titles and descriptions are themed and characterized in a way to help make these groups more memorable to you. So please do not take the group titles and descriptions too seriously. Never assume what is described for each group is always true for each or every person, and understand that not everyone fits into a connectable group. But the vast majority of people that you can create a commissionable connection with fit into one of the following groups. And these groups we've called the Awakening Muggle, the Freedom Fighter, the Healer, the Leader, and the Awoken. There's also actually 2 kinds of Awakening Muggles. There's the Awakening Muggle victims, the Awakening Muggle masters, and then there's 2 kinds of leaders, the traditional leader and the New Paradigm leader. And really, like, again, it's very important. Don't use this as your end-all perspective to see the world. This is a very like gamified, themed, fun way of looking at people. That should not be your overall or underall. It's just a system to help you memorize these different kinds of ways of interacting and talking and speaking and sharing and these different projects. All right? So we're gonna have fun with it, but understand this aspect of this program is a game. And please, like, don't take it as your life philosophy, all right? Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah, so that's your homework for this upcoming week, to really get into the theme of these different connectable groups and these different commissionable actions. This particular week's course has more written material than the other 2 chapters combined. So there's quite a lot of reading. I hope you have fun with it. And we're gonna have another meeting in about 7 days. So I hope everyone can get caught up, and I hope our next meeting is fabulous. Do we have any questions or closing comments today before we close out this meeting? All right. Well then, if everyone wouldn't mind turning your video on, I'd like to close with 3 deep breaths and 3 ohms. So let's get our videos on. I want to see your beautiful faces while we close, please. Hello. Who's still with me? I might be having a little bit of an internet lag this moment. Just give me a minute, the internet will pop back on. All right, well, the internet seems a little slow. Nonetheless, let's finish up. So we're gonna start with 3 deep breaths, transition to 3 deep belly ohms, and then 1 more deep breath and exhale. So breathing all the way out, breathing in all of our intentions. Really feeling the relaxation on that exhale, full body relaxation. Another deep breath. Yeah, that was really nice. 1 more deep exhale, deep breath in. Yeah, so relaxing. Oh my. All right. Deep breath to a belly om. And everything you've got with this last one. Nice and loud. Deep breath. And then 1 more relaxing exhale. Deep breath in. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my brothers and my sisters, my loved ones, thank you so much for joining me here today. It is an honor to be here with each of you and to be of service with all of you. Until next time, my family. Ciao.
Peace. Yes,
Yeah.
Many blessings.